There's like 266 people waiting.
It's a podcast.
Hello.
Thank you, Mark, for that.
I didn't know we were going live. I was very excited because, okay, this is jumping ahead, but I'm like, okay, first of all, we're back. This episode, I thought it was class, but it also has, and this is literally a segment in this very video that AJ has written down, but the greatest joke in Dragon Ball as well. And I'm that's the title of that segment that we're doing, and I have to agree, it is the best segment.
Hey, I named it that, and it is the best joke in all of Dragon Ball.
It is.
It's so good. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover. Yeah, welcome back to Totally Not a Podcast. Man, we only have one episode left after this. What a crazy few months it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a big
Obviously, we'll reflect on the whole next week. But yeah, man, it's crazy. Like just how it's weird. I don't know if you felt the same, but like it's gone by very quickly, but it's also felt like an eternity. I don't know if I only
definitely the second one. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah,
I think that's mostly because we're like working week to week with it. It's not something like Dragon Ball Super.
That really is a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like
90% of it. Yeah.
I think it's gone by quickly because there's really 20 episodes. It's not that much, but I think it's felt like quite slow because we've been kind of like grinding away at stuff to do with it. It's like okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, before we dive in, just a reminder of Super Chats. You can chat in with whatever you like. Only exception this week being, obviously, if you're aware of my current situation, I won't be able to answer any questions on that for the time being. But otherwise, you can ask whatever you like, or make us ask you things. The usual stuff, no minimum amount, whatever works.
Can we get people to ask? Can we get, like, if you are going to send a Super Chat and ask ask me to ask you a question, which has happened at least 3 times over the course of this podcast. I would like to remind you that there are 2 episodes of this left, and if you are going to ask me to, if you're going to send us something to ask a question, don't send it to me. Give AJ, give Tyson an opportunity. They're fawning for it. They're gagging for it. No, it's definitely absolutely
Mark's being
warranted.
modest. He wants to ask you guys.
Trust me, modesty is not one of my strong suits. So please. If someone wants to have themselves asked a question, directed towards anyone but me.
Incredible stuff. Okay, well look.
No, they are. Sorry, go on.
All right, let's dive right in. As always, Daima is just like one continuous long movie. I find that funny every week where I'm like, and we pick off right where we left off. Like there's no jump whatsoever.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how it should be. I mean, like if we're doing like one solid arc of just like, one adventure, it wouldn't really make sense if there were like lots of time skips or anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's just it's more that like it feels like you could take away the openings and endings and it would just flow like one movie. Whereas I think sometimes in other series it's like okay, they kind of like there's not necessarily like a time jump, but the framing feels quite different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, and also some period of like, we jump scenes as well sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like some of that comes down to the fact that this is all one very contiguous story. There's not really a B plot or C plots, but it also is like a framing thing where like even when there were no B and C plots in old Dragon Ball, they would still maybe cut to a different scene or a little bit of time has passed and we're in a different location or something. Whereas this, I really feel like you could edit this to be a movie. Pretty much, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I don't think you are either.
Oh, it sure does lately.
It does look like a movie. I don't know about you guys, but like especially in this like first like opening scene, like the way that the line art is even given like a different hue, a different color, it really kind of like makes this scene feel special and ethereal. I suppose it kind of like matches the whole wish aspect of it, but like I really like that. I really like the line art. The line, like I think the line color was like light blue at times sometimes. Yeah,
it had a very interesting aesthetic. Yeah, so just to frame this scene, we find out what Gloria's wish was. Oh my god, what a surprise, what a huge twist.
Oh my god.
Alert the media. He wishes them back into adults. I think we all saw this coming. It was the natural progression of things. I guess we kind of covered this last week, I think, with how we feel about this, which was fine, but I thought the way they went about it was kind of fun. As you said, like the visual presentation is good, and I really liked the little like visual gag of Dende like growing in Pansy's arms, and she's just like and just drops him. That was a lot of fun.
I was really worried that like the beginning of this episode would be like and now for the big twist. And like
Yeah.
it didn't take that approach. I was very thankful of that because they did. Because it first of all, it just wouldn't have worked because, like I said, everyone and their mother who hasn't even seen Daima knew this was coming. So like, I'm very happy that they just kind of played it off as, okay, yeah, this thing happened, so now we get to do this cool shit. That was the exact right decision, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no time wasted.
I also really enjoy this bit will kind of be more for the video viewers, but for the people who are viewing this videoly, I really enjoy that pretty much immediately we get like a shot of like Goku becoming an adult, and then after that, every shot for the next like 5 minutes is like, oh, this is Dragon Ball Super again. Yamamuro is back in super form. Like, even this top right shot here is like, yeah, that's Super Vegeta. That looks nothing like Daima.
But one thing you do have to admit, though, that like, you know, like it really does. Like, I mean, you are dead right. That is like Yamamuro to a T. But the thing is that compositing does so much for like a show's aesthetic.
Color
like,
too.
Yeah,
Color
color,
and composite
compositing,
both.
everything just looks so premium in this episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, you know, I'd been harping on about like Yamamura's sort of redemption arc in a way, and then this episode popped along, and I was like, yep, okay, we're just drawing like super fine, which, you know, I think again it sort of shows the benefit of Yamamura working under someone else. So like, there are, you know, most of the stuff that they showed of Yamamura, it is his style. I'm not a fan of it, but nothing in this episode I think looked terrible. And I think part of that is because there are many shots, you know, where Nakatsu stepped in to redraw stuff, and so, you know, you kind of get a nice mix of styles that works well. But I think it also, you're absolutely right about the color, and I know this is something that that Tyson has spoken about many times, where like, you know, Super did look not great. And a very large part of that has always been its like very bad color choices, its very bad shading decisions often, and especially its compositing that it was just basically non-existent. So like, to see that style, it's almost like they went, well, we're going to show you what Super could have looked like if it had good production values and a like a good foundational aesthetic from the get-go.
And it looks great. I just want to say that from the outset, this episode looked so fucking cool. I really liked it.
True, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that Yamamuro, like, replicating Dragon Ball Super is mostly relegated to the first half of this episode.
Yeah,
which still looked good, I thought.
Yeah, I would say so, but I would, like, yeah, I have so many times talked about how people underestimate the impact that color and composite had to Super looking ugly, and this is certainly a great example of that. Like, any of these DBS looking shots in this episode still look a world better than most anything in Super because, you know, the colors and composite aren't shit. But like, once we get to the bit in the back half of the episode where it's not just like Yam DBS stuff, it's like, oh, this immediately looks way better. Wow.
I will say though, and I think Ajay was making this point as well in the videos on his channel, was that like a lot of people in the background for, like, you know, in like for the animation process in this particular series depended heavily on people like Yamamura, who like had the style on lock, that they could just whip things out just in terms of like this pose here with Goku or that pose there with Vegeta. If anything needed a correction to bring things up to par, he was there to sort of like, you know, rise all boats, so to speak. Am I right?
Yeah. Like, you know, I can say whatever I want about like not finding his style appealing or whatever, but the amount of work that man has put into this show has been insane. And like, I don't know how to convey this because I can't without showing visuals, but like, imagine the number of animators that work on this show, right? Like, not everyone knows how to draw Dragon Ball, and like, you know, there are model sheets for them to reference, sure, but not every aspect of a model sheet is like super instinctive, you know, and especially with Dragon Ball, where like you put something slightly out of place or you don't understand like how an eye or like hair flips depending on the angle and stuff, like it can very quickly start to look wrong, even if you've like tried your very best. And so, you know, to have someone like Yamamura on board who can take those like rough layouts and transform them into something that is recognizably Dragon Ball and doesn't feel distractingly off is a great asset. And yeah, you know, it's insane that he's been on last episode, and now this episode. The next episode looks like he's on the final episode. He's been all over the second half. The workload is just like, how?
Well, like the thing is that like though, but that's kind of why he's in the position that he's in, and I think that's why he was given the position that he got in the Super. In that, it's not just the fact that he's been there a long time; it's the fact that during that time that he was there, he became one of the fastest artists on the show that could produce really clean, really on point artwork at the drop of a hat, because he's just done it for so long and he's practiced it so hard. So like, you have all these animators that might be young or from Europe or whatever that might be incredibly talented in an animation standpoint, but when it comes to model correctness or, you know, the Dragon Ball aesthetic, they will have to slow up considerably. But if they can focus all their efforts on the movement, on the animation process of it, then Yam can just come in and say, yeah, I can just make Goku in all of these poses, or Vegeta in all these poses, or whoever, and all of a sudden you get the best of both worlds, a really clean aesthetic while also adhering to some fantastic animation practices.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, let's move into the story, because I think where things kick off here has been such a talking point for so long. It's been kind of like the crux of the series. What's Glorio's deal, and what's the deal with Urinsu? And we get a very quick answer to this.
I'm very happy that it was quick again, because like, if it turned out to be something like, okay, like the first thing my mind goes to, or that I was worried about primarily when this episode was starting, was, are we going to get an episode where we get like a Jiren backstory that no one gives a shit about and all that kind of stuff? I'm happy that that didn't happen, because because realistically, there were only two possible outcomes given the lack of preparation and legwork done leading up to this moment. It could only have been something like this, which I'm so happy it was, because something like what we got with Jiren would have just seemed ham-fisted and would have just only highlighted the lack of anything this thing was, in my opinion.
I will say, like, okay, we all agree the whole Glorio, he's a double agent thing, pretty underbaked and like not anything crazy.
Yep.
Having said that, I will say I was pleasantly surprised at how this episode handled the reveal, in that I really enjoyed how much went unsaid. Because in anime or in kids shows or even in Dragon Ball, depending on
Subtlety
which
isn't
version
great.
we're talking about, there is sometimes not much in the way of subtlety, and things need to be explained very loudly and overtly. And I appreciated that for this, you know, she says, you know, have you forgotten my kindness in rescuing you? And he like says like, yeah, but then there's this period of time where he's like just like struggling internally with how he feels, and instead of like some monologue of like, I really appreciate what you did, but I've learned that I like these people, or I have really appreciate the concept of warriorness now. It just goes unspoken, and you're kind of left to interpret it on your own. And I find
that's the way it should be. Yeah,
I find that infinitely more interesting and succinct than any other approach. So I enjoyed that for sure.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, you know, obviously, I think we all would have loved for Glorio to have been a little bit more of a complex character, but I think with the way that the series has gone, this was probably the best way that they could have handled this. And I think also on the subject of Urinsu as well, I think it also goes a long way in showing why it's very important to not take, you know, reactions from an episode to episode basis on this podcast as like a definitive thing, because I think you know, for me last week, and I think even the week before, I was so much like, oh man, are we really trying to make Urinsu like a real bad here, like a big bad? Like I'm not really buying it. And I think this episode kind of solidifies that was never really intended to be the case. It's almost kind of like maybe front is not the right word, but like she's clearly not that bothered by it, you know. It was almost like, I could have done this but it's not going to work out, so like whatever. Like she's not like super mega truly evil. She's done some bad shit for sure, but yeah, I think
conviction.
Yeah, and it also, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but the way she reacts to Glorio and her kind of like softening on her reaction as the scene goes on, and then what follows with Ku, I don't know. It kind of felt like a tiny mini conclusion of the like Dr. Arensu single mother arc, where she went from being this like totally brooding, conniving character to the longer that Ku and Du are around, just like single mom parent energy. And this kind of seemed like a little bit of a conclusion of that, where it's like, well,
I can
whatever,
definitely see what you're talking
fine.
about. I didn't personally feel that way, but you know, I get it. I do want to say though, just to put my own cap on this particular scene, in that I'm seeing a lot of people still complaining that like, yeah, this was good, that was good. I'm happy they took this route, but he still feels like a sideline character. Gloria does, and yeah, 100%, totally agree. He does feel like a sideline character at this point. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that we've known that for a considerable amount of time. Him having a prominent position in this episode wouldn't have fixed that one way or the other. I'm just acknowledging that this particular creative decision, I'm happy in the direction that they've gone, because Lord knows it could have gone freaking awful. And I'm just so happy that it didn't. I'm happy that
you could say you're grading it on a curve.
Huh? No, I hate what they did with Glorio's character.
Yeah.
Just this scene in isolation, it could have been so much worse. And I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying it could have been so much worse.
Now, sure. AJ, you're going to want to abandon this because you are conflating two very different things and you will lose.
Okay. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. Dear. Well, from here, we head off into Vegeta time. He, of course, had to jump into action. We had to have our obligatory Vegeta gets to do something. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, it was very cool. We got to see adult Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta.
Yeah.
Can I just kind of put a feeler out there now just for you guys, even for chat? How do we feel about the main cast being back to adults again? How do we feel them, fighting in the aesthetic of Daima, all the different transformations, bells and whistles, just as a broad take? How do we feel about that? Because when I saw all the guys grow back up, it just made me feel happy. It was like, oh, here we are. Oh, let's do more fighting with adult characters now. I usually I'm not like an aesthetics person. I don't really care that much about how a show looks as long as it reaches a bare minimum threshold. But for this, for whatever reason, how these characters are drawn, how they're fighting, obviously the script and the comedy helps huge amounts, especially in this scene. But I just could not get enough of how these characters looked in this particular episode, particularly, the Super Saiyan 3 stuff, and obviously stuff that comes later with Goku that just looks... I feel like I'm saying this a lot with Daima, but it may be better than anything I've ever seen from Dragon Ball. It just looks like such a fun, cool aesthetic.
AJ?
I'm getting the feeling you don't agree. What gives? You're the animation guy.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that like the first part of this Vegeta fight doesn't look great. It's because
your standards. Oh my god! What absolutely.
Please, before the good stuff kicks in, please rewatch the start of that fight. It's quite frightening.
No, AJ's right.
Not
really.
Great. But
he's talking about a like 2 to 3 minute segment of the fight, to be clear. But
most of it looked great, but there was some stuff at the side. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I think. It's definitely really cool to see the cast growing up again, and all the classic voice actors come back. Great stuff, cool, fun. I would say that like they've done lots of fun stuff with the kid-sized characters. That like I wouldn't say I was suddenly like, oh my god, this is so much better, cool, yeah, woohoo.
Well, no, it's novel. Like it feels like, oh, we're back taking the training weights off. It feels good to be back doing things at full power.
I think that's I think that's an accurate way to put it for how I feel. It's not like I don't feel relieved in their back and that like, oh, I didn't like the kid stuff and like, we're finally back to fighting as adults. And it's not even that like I find the adult aesthetic better in this situation. It is exciting and relieving the same way that watching Goku taking his training clothes off when he starts fighting Tenshinhan or Piccolo is exciting. It's like, okay, we've been in this situation. They've run up against trouble. Now it's like, oh shit, the training weights are off. We're going full throttle, like 6th gear, ready to go. And that's what makes this exciting for me, is it's like maximum RPM.
Yeah, it's sick. I loved it. I loved this episode. I loved this fight. It was really great. Fantastic. I had a lot of fun. I didn't watch it the same day it came out, mind you, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, I did.
just to add that caveat in there for AJ so that he understands that this is like, you know, the context that I'm watching it in. But okay.
Hey, I didn't watch it subbed until an hour ago, so you know.
You are
fresh
actually
in my
an
mind
insane
right now.
person. Like,
Yeah,
like,
I
any
despise
argument
people
that
that
you'll
watch
make-
it live.
Any argument that you'll make for like, I'm not just an aesthetics person. You watched a Japanese show of which you didn't understand a word
Yeah.
and didn't watch the actual episode until you needed to.
Well, no, I didn't watch the actual episode because the past few days have certainly been something. But I always watch Dragon Ball stuff. I've always watched Dragon Ball stuff live. I feel like
I hate
Never
it.
made sense to me. It
I
just
hate
it
it.
ruins
Well,
it ruins the episode.
Yes, it
Well,
it does
actually-
ruin it. Yes.
let me clarify. I actually stopped watching it live for probably about 2 months or so, fairly quickly, because my sleep schedule broke and the show airs the show airs at a very normal time, which is 2:40 p.m. in the UK. My
Yeah,
sleep schedule
very
was so
normal time.
broken that I kept sleeping through it. So the majority of my experience with Daima has actually been first time subbed. But no, this one I did happen to be up and watching live, which was great. Again, just to wind back a little bit, because I feel like I've given the very wrong impression. It's great that they're adults, and I agree that it's like the training weights came up, but it felt to me like you were like poo-pooing on the kid stuff, you know?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Well,
Okay,
Well, like
yeah.
you'll find that upon listening that I have given one specific episode as the best action I've seen in Dragon Ball perhaps ever, which is episode 8, and that
Yes.
was all kid stuff. So like them being kids bears no weight in like my mental calculus for enjoyment. I'm just saying after 18 episodes of kids fighting, it's cool that we're getting adults again and the training weights are off and we're feeling this new lease on life and everything feels fresh again. That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean the action in the sequence was really sick once it started kicking into gear.
So
and, like,
good.
all the big names started coming back. Like you had Yohei Sasaki, who did like all of the early stuff in that episode 8 thing that you love. He did so much great stuff with Vegeta, and then Ryo Onishi again, just like the insane. I cannot believe he's back. I think he did like 2.5 minutes here after doing whatever it was, 3-4 minutes or whatever it was on episode 7. Like
Yeah.
Daima's schedule is absurd. Like they've put together a movie, like more than a movie, or in fact, like if you think about like ZBS Broly, like the action for that film kicks in at the 60-minute mark and lasts for about 25 minutes straight. Yeah, there's some action slightly earlier on, but like the sheer amount of action animation across these past few episodes like exceeds what you would get in a movie. It's
Well,
it's
and the-
mind blowing.
and the crazy part is that applies to the non-action stuff as well. Like I
Yeah,
think I would argue, and you would agree, that the non-action stuff in Daima looks, at a minimum, roughly on par with the non-action stuff in Broly, give or take, depending on the episode. And so then it just goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, which is this is essentially a 20 times 22 is that many minute long Dragon Ball movie, which is insane.
It is absurd.
Yeah.
It's
Like, I
been,
mean, like-
it's been so consistent and so strong.
And obviously with the aesthetic comes like, the actual framing choices, and we have some of them on screen now for those who aren't watching. The first image is one of the most, like, I've never seen a shot pictured this way, but we're like imagine you are getting a point of view shot from the nipple of Goma and you're looking down at an area where Vegeta is uppercutting his gut and you're looking down on Vegeta. It is the weirdest but
It's
coolest shot
so
I've seen
sick.
in a very long time.
It's so sick.
But like it's shots like that because like obviously with a show like Dragon Ball that's been around for time immemorial, like every angle conceivable that is cool oftentimes has been done until we realize that it hasn't. And that's what makes like like certain Kamehamehas we discussed earlier in this series novel. But like to have a novel angle for a punch in a show like Dragon Ball is awesome. And it's very rare we get to see shots like that we haven't seen. So I really appreciated that one too.
And I think what's also cool, and again this extends to like schedule stuff, is that the director and storyboard artist for this, Kazuya Kurosawa, same person who did episode 17, like a one episode gap. Like again, that's just the amount of prep time to be able to organize episodes like that is madness. Absolutely madness. It was such a great looking part of the fight.
I ran the math real quick, and it is 7 1/3 hours total, roughly, of runtime for Daima. So this is essentially a 7-hour-long Dragon Ball movie, which is just crazy.
With a hamster interlude.
With a hamster interlude that will be cut out of the movie
Director's cut.
Yeah.
Boo. Boo. No, that's the part. No, you put the hamster episode on. You go get your ice cream, sit down, have a little intermission, and then boom, straight back in. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the piss break episode. You're saying. So you're saying your favorite episode?
No, it's such an awful thing to say. I tell you what. One thing I do want to talk about, and I feel like Tyson will disagree with me. It's not a new track that plays, I don't think. But there was a track placed here during the lengthy Ryo Onishi bit that was so Kikuchi pilled that I was watching it and I was like, this feels like really classic Dragon Ball. Something about the vibes of that track against what I was seeing was like, oh, okay, pretty Kikuchi pilled here. I will say that music has continued to be yes. Honestly, go watch it back. I think you would agree. But I will also say that obviously music has continued to be an issue. I think you would. It is pretty Kikuchi-esque. It's not the guitar shit. It's after that, and it's a very sort of Kikuchi-esque track.
AJ will sample the exact timestamp for you, Tyson, at a later date.
Yeah. Find that timestamp for me later, and we'll go back to. If you can find it while we're still in the podcast, we can maybe check that out in the Q&A. But
yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah, I think it's
your live critique of the music. You actually looking now?
Yeah, maybe.
Now.
Don't do that. Don't do that right now.
That was what the Q&A bit was for.
Yeah, I found it. It's about 11 minutes and 33 seconds. Anyway,
11:33. So I'm jotting that down. We'll revisit this in the Q&A section.
I forget the actual sequence of events for the actual episode. Is this also the same scene where we get the best joke? The best joke in Dragon Ball?
No,
or is that a little bit later?
No, that's later.
Okay.
So from the action here, we actually cut away to Arinsu, who whips out a magic book and finds out that to be able to remove this third eye from Goma, you have to smack him in the back of the head 3 times. It's the most video game boss mechanic ever. Yeah. Yep. Like you just know there is a Daima action RPG game coming, and you will have to smack that motherfucker in the back of the head 3 times.
Out of curiosity, is that how he got out of the belt as well, or was it not that way? Was it just jammed in the belt, or is this only applicable when it's on someone's forehead?
No, the latter. He got it out. There were multiple attempts, but there weren't 3, and they were all different. One was a plunger, and there were some tools involved. It was just
and none of them worked. I remember that.
No. Yeah, I mean, so we're probably all in agreement that this is pretty silly, right? As far as a final solve, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
kind of. So it is silly, but I wouldn't say I was bothered by it. And in fact, I kind of actually enjoy the simplicity of it. It's a very simple set piece that I don't know. It just feels.
At this point, I don't really at this point, the camo's already on the ground 2 miles back. He's not walking anymore. There's no more straw to put on it. So it's not like this is going to be the deal breaker, if that makes sense. I'm just here to see the cool shit now at this point. I'm where AJ was 10 episodes ago, is what I'm trying to say.
Well done, welcome.
But obviously I agree. This is I don't feel like this is conducive to a really, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of a satisfying
storytelling.
Well, it's not like a satisfying conclusion to the fight. It's not by. I suppose you could make the argument that the means with which that they dispose of the eye doesn't necessarily matter in the context of the story, because it's the means with which they get the information to do that. Arinsu,
that's the problem.
Goryo, well, no, but
that part isn't compelling.
This is me steel manning this particular instance. What someone might say is that the mechanism by which that they disarm Goma isn't where the satisfaction comes from narratively. The satisfaction comes from how they obtain the right way to defeat him, which
Well,
would be through Arinsu, which would be through Glorio. And if they hadn't been of the caliber that they are, Glorio would never have done what he did and saved everybody and blah blah blah. So like,
Kind of.
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I get what you're saying, but I think where my issue lies with it is how they attain the information. I
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
information because
Yeah.
I think the
know.
information will will make for a cool set piece. Like I'm fine with that, and we'll talk about that. But I think like Arinsi being like, go grab this magic book of solutions.
Oh yeah, I
and,
forgot about this for the last 15 episodes.
Like,
I remember it
that's
now,
not
though.
amazing, but like,
No, it's obviously not amazing, but like that just seems more like a gag than anything to me.
It's not
kinda-
presented as a gag.
But, like,
the
it
only
just
part
feels
of
like
it
a
that's
visual-
presented as a gag is
It's just kind of like
Who
feel like a
flipping through
bit
the
of visual.
pages.
Like, to be honest, like genuinely, like I think the only thing, like, it didn't bother me that much. Like, obviously, I would prefer it to be something significantly more substantial and something that would build drama a lot more, that would feed into a plot point of some description. But like, I don't know, it didn't make or break the episode for me. It wasn't something that I thought about like
Well,
more than
no.
2 or 3 seconds after it happened, if that makes sense.
I don't think either of us are saying it made or break the episode, but if we're talking about like this final solve for the problem that is Third Eye Goma, the means by which this came about was, I would say, the most troubled part, where it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about the win button. Great news, guys. Press the back of his head, you win.
Yeah, it is bizarre. It would have been cool. Like, again, this is what makes this this series feel like a first draft, in that like it would have been cool if during all the bits of like breadcrumb, leaving process throughout the series, when they were talking about Abra and him losing the eye and all that kind of stuff, it would have been cool if like they would have tied how he lost the eye in some description to how they find out the information here. Instead of it being in a book, it could have been, I don't know, like a part of the story that was missing, or they might have fought somebody who had a particular strategy or something. Someone could have seen something, like, just, I don't know.
I agree, but in a different format. Because I was just thinking just now about what would I have found more compelling of a way to have this information revealed. And I think we could have, just if we're theory crafting here, we could have solved 2 birds with one stone, which is, you remember back a few episodes when this big fight started and everyone was fighting, and I complained that like there was absolutely no progress, even like 0.01% progress in their like teaming up. I think it would have been really great if that was where we begin to get the cracks of this, where they're doing a group fight and someone, not even the strongest one in the group, like a Piccolo or a Ku or someone that's not strong, somewhere in there hits the back of his head and he like reacts bigger to that than any of the other attacks. And that's how we might plant the seed.
I think that's a good idea, and that should be part of it. Absolutely. I'm not, but I think you misinterpreted what I was saying, because I'm actually advocating for hints to be laid for this particular weak spot of the Tertian Oculus, pretty much as soon as we find out about Abra, like way back. Like, how did he lose it? That's when that first breadcrumb is left. We're left pondering, how did he lose it? And then we see his backstory, and then we see, the means with which it might have been dispensed, and it goes unmentioned, but we do see something. And then we get
That's tricky though, because if you plant seeds as overt as that early on, you have kind of already solved the mystery too far in advance, because it's like it's going to be very
it doesn't
obvious.
need to be as obviously like this is me just like fucking throwing random shit out there. But like, it doesn't need to be as overt as that. But just something could have been left for us to, guess on, or like get some kind of like hint as to what this could be earlier. Sure. But it's just the fact that she literally pulls it out of her ass for this one is where the, discontent, I'm guessing, is coming from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's do I want to continue? Probably not. Fuck it.
We've said all that needs to be said. It's not that big of a deal, but it does. It's
I was
a little bit
sucky. I was like,
it's
do
not that
I
big
continue?
Of a deal.
But yeah, no. Like, I guess to put a cap on it, like I didn't see it and go, oh, this is the worst fucking thing. Oh, Daima, come on, bro. Man, this sucks. It was
That
more
ship
just like,
has failed.
it was more just like, this is, it's it's convenient storytelling that I kind of expect from a modern Dragon Ball story. So I'm just, whatever. Par for the course.
Minimal eye roll is the reaction it got out of me. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summation. But to flip things on its head,
the way in the other
reception-wise,
direction.
yeah, all the way. With this newfound information, we
it's the best
must
part of the episode.
we must pull Vegeta out of the fight. And how do we go about this? We threaten to never let him bathe with Bulma again. Just phenomenal. What a
So
follow up to the reveal that he is a boob guy. Oh my god, just incredible.
It is actually hilarious that this instance got more foreshadowing and build up than so much of the actual core story. And I don't think there's any more fitting tribute for Toriyama to leave the world than this joke. It is easily his finest work as a comedic writer.
It's so good.
It actually got me like rolling around laughing.
Yeah,
this was
same.
so good. It's so like obviously it being rich in character and all that kind of stuff, but it's also such an elegant means by which to get Vegeta the fuck out of there in a way that feels true to his character and makes him entertaining. And I've often found myself, how do we make Vegeta a more entertaining character? Because back in the day, he was very entertaining with him being a big old rascal,
dickhead.
evil person. Yeah, but now he's not that. So how do we do that? This is maybe the most entertaining Vegeta's been in and it's not like he hasn't been entertaining on and off in the past. He has, even in recent memory, but like this is just like next level. I loved this joke. It is so funny.
I was legitimately laughing out loud, like wheezing laughing at it for 90 seconds, 2 minutes straight. Like my partner who I watch all these episodes with, like 60, 70 seconds into the laughing, looked over and she was like, "Is it really that funny?" I was like, yes, it is. I just couldn't. It's so good. And the way it's directed and boarded really elevates it too, where it like the slow zoom in as
the most
as the
dramatic
colors
shit.
shift.
Like,
I don't know if you guys think that this is coincidence or purposeful, but the framing of the shot of him looking back and his expression reminded me a lot of when it dawned on him that Trunks was dead in the Cell arc. Like it looks very similar.
That's exactly what I thought too.
And a similar level of gravitas, which makes it just as funny, or even funnier rather.
It made it funnier. That's what really tipped me over the edge. Was just how much this felt like the Cell saga where his son had died. It was like it hit him with that level of severity. Yeah. Like, oh no, my son has died. Oh no, I can't see my wife's tits in the bathtub specifically. It's so funny.
He's just
the speed at which he moves is
just down.
Like as well, he's fatigued as well. Like he is drained of fucking. He's working on empty, and he still managed that sort of speed and reaction time. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like I watched this, raw first, and I was fucking crying with laughter, even like not fully grasping what quite had been said. Just the visual direction of it, like you could just tell what is happening.
Oh my god,
and it is
that's right.
Hilarious.
You didn't watch this in.
Yeah.
So you didn't actually understand that. Oh my god.
No, of course he didn't.
If there's any greater condemnation of the way that you watched this episode, it's that one. That is such
just
like
insane.
Gag. It is
No, AJ, you're gonna say I got the gist of it. That's not the same thing.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that yes, of course, it would have been great to have fully understood the joke, but I am praising the joke by saying that its presentation, even without the full context of the line, still made me laugh so hard because you just feel what that joke is just from the visual direction alone. Like it's that good is what I'm saying here. It's so good. It's so good. It's so funny. We hear time and time again that like, Toriyama's like not super fussed about like the narrative details of stuff, but when it comes to gags, like you guys said, like, how do you just so many episodes removed from the initial setup to just nail it like that. Amazing.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, and I've maybe thought of this 2 minutes after this joke hit, And I did have all those thoughts of how, like you said, Toyotaro has gone on record in saying that he doesn't really care, Toriyama doesn't really care too much about, like, these really intricate, detailed, dramatic plot beats that all of us like. His meat and potatoes, what he gets up in the morning for is, like, to make people laugh, to, like, craft a fun joke, to make a world feel lighthearted and all that kind of stuff. And he absolutely succeeded here in ways that I don't think he's ever succeeded before. I genuinely mean this when I say this was the funniest Toriyama gag I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 2 minutes later, after experiencing it and laughing into tears, I actually got a bit sad, knowing that Toriyama, who like, was involved in this, helped give rise to the joke, almost definitely. He never got to experience the world's reaction to it in any capacity.
Yeah.
And that's really sad for someone who cares so deeply about jokes and making people laugh, that he didn't actually get to hear the laugh that I'm sure he knew it was coming, And, that's kind of what I was thinking of as well when this happened.
I do wonder how much he cares. Well, it's tricky because we know, like, Toriyama's caring about the receptions of things is spotty, where a lot of times he just writes stuff because it makes him laugh, and then he throws it out in the world and let it happen. But then we do know, at least in the past, that he did care about and paid attention to people's reception, because that's how Goku ended up losing the first Tenkaichi Budokai, because he was listening to public reception, and everybody was like, oh yeah, Goku's obviously going to win, that's going to be great, and he was like, well, see about that, mister. So it's hard to get a real read on that, but
sure.
Yeah, just in general, I agree, and I do wish that, really, if there's anything I'm sad about, it's that we won't be getting an interview with Toriyama where some like magazine interviewer asks him about this joke, and he gets to talk about it for like 5 sentences straight. That's irrefutable.
Yeah. One thing sorry, go on.
No, I just, one last thing. I do like to think that because Toriyama is so into comedy and he's thinking, he really focuses on a lot with Dragon Ball specifically. I do wonder if he has been sitting on this joke for ages, and the setup and everything like that. I do like the idea of him, like, thinking, obviously I don't like to think that, like, he knew of his own mortality, but I'm sure he was aware of it in some way. But I do like the idea of him thinking, it's time I bring out the big guns. It's time I show the world what I really am.
Yeah.
And he just breaks out this joke, and it just like, literally everyone online, anyone and everyone who isn't even a fan of Toriyama's, like, jokes, I like, they were sharing this thing, and it was getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes, because it's just
I can co-sign that, because a friend of ours, a female friend of me and AJ's, who is not into anime at all, much less Dragon Ball, said that she had this clip pop up on her timeline. It was the first time anything Dragon Ball had popped up on her timeline. So yes, that is 100% true.
Yeah, it's a viral moment brought on purely by a gag in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sorry, okay. I think we've given enough time to the joke. It's like 10 seconds of the episode. Like, it's just...
It's the best 10 seconds of the episode. Maybe.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I think to talk also about setup and execution, there is another thing here. It's not in the document, but I wanted to talk about it anyway, which is when Glorio finally returns to the gang. And...
Oh, yeah.
You get the Chan-Jakajan, like, piano motif, and Goku finally calls him by his real name and gives him, like, a little knowing smirk. I think, like, that was the obvious conclusion to that running gag, and despite being obvious, I don't know about you guys, but I thought that worked. I was like, that's...
Oh, yeah, cute. No, I mean, like,
fine, cool.
Yeah,
even though, like, this is the thing, right? So, like, I don't think things don't work and fail based on whether or not we see them coming. It's based on whether or not it's right for the moment. Like, cliches are oftentimes cliches for a reason. It's because they serve a purpose, they're functional, they work. And this is another one of those examples, I think, in that, like, Glorio, was apprehensive, after kind of, like, betraying their trust, but ultimately he did the right thing, and they all know that. But still, he was apprehensive. He goes in, and they accept him. That is how it should have gone, and I'm happy that it did. subverting it for the sake of subverting it just because you want to be different. Not to say that anyone here does want it to be different, by the way, but just if anyone did have an issue with that, I don't see it as a thing that needs fixing, personally. I think it works perfectly fine as it is.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really nice moment. Yeah, I think it's, again, like, we won't retread old ground. It's definitely emblematic of like how sidelined he got, that it doesn't hit as hard as it probably could have. But again, like, all things considered, it was fine.
Yep.
But what this does lead us into is this big finale where, you know, the one and only Yuya Takahashi takes over the supervision, and suddenly the episode like gains 4,000 extra layers of shading. The art jumps in quality massively. But it reveals that now we're putting together a plan. We're no longer just wailing on this bad guy willy-nilly. Goku now has to buy some time.
Yeah.
Which is good on multiple fronts, right? Because, like, A, it gives us a reason why what comes after this, where he goes through the forms, it makes sense. And that's the exact same reason why he did that against Boo, was he was just trying to buy time. So it keeps from the usual criticism of, they're just yelling. You transformed in 1 second a few episodes ago. Like, there is a purpose to it. But
just to interject, I do like one aspect of this, in that, because, okay, obviously it happens once, whatever, but if it happens twice, it's kind of a pattern, right? So like, this is him going to the well for a distraction and taking this approach of, hey, check out my cool new forms. And it makes sense that this is his go-to thing.
Yeah.
Because this is what would distract Goku. Show me your big powers. Show me, show me, you know, like, show me everything that you can do. But don't do it all at once. There's no fun there. Do it in stages, so I get to take in the girth of the energy, so to speak.
Be
you know?
slow.
So, yeah. Be slow. Exactly. Yeah. But like, I do like that element of it, because, and obviously I don't think anything's going to come from it in the future, but maybe there will. But I do like the idea of maybe there'll be a third time he does this approach, and we see it as like, okay, we know what's coming. But maybe this time, then the bad guy doesn't actually care at all about power, and that would be an opportunity to undercut the whole moment and just prove that whoever Goku's fighting is nothing like who he is. And
it's kind of funny that. Sorry.
No, I'm done. That's everything I had to say.
Yeah. It is kind of funny that, like, obviously he's like kind of buying time to start the plan, like put the plan into motion, but at the same time he's also like. His dialogue is also like, time is not on my side here. I need to end this quickly. But then, like, it's still drawing it out.
Well, I kind of internalize that as, like, you know, he just, like, he can't fight.
Yeah, the fight needs to end quickly, but he's still, like, trying to capture Goma's attention for, you know, the plan of hitting him on the back of the head.
Yeah.
I also really like about this scene, just... We talked about a lot throughout this whole podcast, like, oh, does Goku feel like Goku, or does he feel like Super Goku? And there was a lot of kind of back and forth when he was a kid, because it's kind of hard to do that right. This whole episode, I was like, yeah, no, that's my Goku. That is Toriyama Goku. He, as soon as he's back, he's having like genuine conversations with Piccolo and everyone else, strategizing. He's like being genuine about everything. And then even this, we get like kind of an internal monologue for him where he's thinking about this sort of stuff, which we have had in Super in some part, but I don't know, the brevity and the clarity of which he's kind of like thinking about stuff, and the way that all of this is framed more than anything else on Super just made me feel like, yeah, we're back. This is Toriyama's Goku. This is the Goku from the manga that I've read. And I don't know, that just felt great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was, again, like, I think like the way you describe it as well, like, I think some people were saying that like there are instances in the Super manga where he has internal monologue. Was that what someone was saying?
I don't know. I would have to go back and look at the specifics.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics. I actually can't think of an instance where he had internal monologue, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. But yeah, that's definitely something novel for this particular instance anyway. So it's definitely the first time that I've seen that I can think it's happened in anime. But maybe it's happened before. Maybe I'm sure someone will point it out, but it is interesting. And yeah, I totally agree that this entire sequence, especially the kind of like small conversations he was having with like Piccolo, almost like he was like conferring with his generals and stuff, like, you know. It just felt really satisfying just watching all of this take place. And yeah, I'm just very happy with how the dialogue is handled. And I'm also happy that, like, you know, one of the it's the penultimate episode, Goku feels like Goku, and that's always a good thing, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we have like a nice mix of fan service in here, but it feels earned, I guess, is where we're landing.
By fan service, you mean him going through the forums and stuff?
Yeah, it's like we're doing the transformation.
Oh, it looks so cool. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't think I've ever seen Super Saiyan 2 look as cool as it did in this moment. And that I'm including Gohan's transformation Super Saiyan 2, which looks 10 out of 10 cool. I love how this drawing of Super Saiyan 2 Goku hits my eyeballs. It's
interesting because so Takahashi just like straight out whipped out the cut through illustrations from the 2000. It was like, I'm gonna draw like that, and it looks pretty cool. I don't love some of it, but that's
no, you're wrong. It's so good. It's so good. It's just, I love the intense dark shading. I just think it really kind of sells it being surrounded and enveloped in light, and I love how it gets more and more intense as the Super Saiyan forms progress. You have Super Saiyan 1, you got the normal shading, still 3-tone, but, you know, standard fare. Super Saiyan 2, you're like, ooh, what's going on here? Something's happening. We're going maybe, half a tone, maybe a significant tone darker, and it's looking like a flashlight's on his face. He's looking all spooky and scary. And then you got Super Saiyan 3, where, like, all of a sudden, everything's blown out. It looks like he's got 10 flashlights on his face, and I'm getting all excited like a 4-year-old. That's what I want. That's everything that this sequence needed to be for me. And it did it. So good. Continue.
No, I don't disagree that the shading is extremely sick. It was just like there are certain elements that he took from the cut through, like shape wise, that I wasn't like super into, but like that doesn't matter. It's like 2 like frames out of an otherwise insane looking sequence. It is so great looking.
For what it's worth, AJ, I agree with what you're saying, and I noticed and felt the same way, but I am also hyper aware of the fact that even having a thought like this is because you and I are like extremely terminally like plugged into Dragon Ball and its visual aesthetics, and no reasonable or regular or even most super fan Dragon Ball people would ever clock what we're talking about. So I'm with you, but I'm aware that we're also kind of insane people.
Yeah, I do want to echo that, especially that last point. I am aware of the exact art that's referenced here. I still think the drawing looks 10 out of 10 cool. I wouldn't change anything. I love it so much.
Well, yeah, AJ and I are just talking about personal preference.
With all due respect, fuck your personal preference. This was really cool.
You know what? Fair.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I feel like I regret even saying anything because I feel like to sit here and like nitpick certain parts of just an insane sequence really is just like it's unnecessary. So I'll take it back. It doesn't matter. It looks.
Yeah, that's why I didn't bring it up in the first place, because it's such a this sequence is so good. Any little tiny thing that you could be talking about this is just kind of irrelevant in the broader scheme of things.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I will.
And
anyway,
not only do we get this whole like slightly fan servicey like replication of the Boo Super Saiyan 3 stuff, but we get the icing on top with that final line of one more bonus, which is so good. So good.
Full on Chad Goku with the heavy shading on the top lip. It's like so smug. He's like pouting, like, yeah, one more.
Yeah. He knows. He knows he's that fucking guy, dude.
Yeah. And then, of course, it heads into adult Super Saiyan 4.
I don't think I made myself. I said this last week, right? And I said that the big drawback between that I think people were feeling between like the classic Super Saiyan 4 style versus the new modern Toriyama Super Saiyan 4 thing. I think, or I thought back then that like, it's probably because they're kids and like, now that they're adults, like, like will really see it. I don't think I went hard enough. This form looks better. I look in the camera. Modern Super Saiyan 4 looks 10 times better than classic Super Saiyan 4. I don't care what your opinion is. That isn't changing in my mind. The only thing I will say is that the forearm things, nothing's perfect.
I
Especially
know.
Super
I
Saiyan-
still think they're great.
I know. I like them, but they're a point where I will accept pushback. This is such a cool form. The red hair, the red fur, the spiky indent on the chest shit. That's fucking sick. And you know what's better? Fucking Goku rips his shirt off beforehand and goes.
It's so
That
sick.
is so good. I don't care what anyone's saying in the chat. Rare Mark L. Well, it's rare for a reason. And you know why it's rare? Because you're fucking wrong. That's why. You're wrong. It's a Mark W. I'm not hearing it. Okay?
No, I'm with you. I
Yeah, it
despite
looks
whatever bets I was hedging last week talking about some of the design elements of this versus the original, I really think not only seeing it in an adult helps clarify how good this design is, I think we still haven't seen the fullness of that because we only got like 2 shots of it in this episode, and they're both like from kind of restrictive angles and through a very specific lens of Takahashi. Whereas
Absolutely.
I think next episode, especially when you see adult Super Saiyan 4 action, it's going to make it all the clearer how good. And it, so, you got a lot of people complaining that like, oh, the hair's the same color as the fur, which, I mean, first of all, that
makes
tracks
sense.
just like
Hang on.
logically.
Yeah, that makes
But-
sense. The fact that he had black hair with weird animal fur, I didn't really mind. I was always a fan of the design. I thought it looked cool, but this is cooler. And that's all I'm saying.
Well,
Not
and-
Frieza's brother, cooler as in the, sorry, go on, the adjective,
God
go ahead.
damn it. the overall color design of this works better in a traditional sense as well because they're generally speaking, and of course this is not a hard rule in the slightest, but a relatively time-tested ideal about color design when you're designing something is you should have a bucket of one color, a cup of one color, and a teaspoon of a third color. And that's exactly what this is. You've got the bucket of the like magenta red, you have the cup of orange with his orange pants, and then whether you want to call the blue or his skin tone, the teaspoon, it doesn't matter. But this satisfies traditional like understandings of like color design. And I think people who are like, oh, the hair color should be different, like, no, it does work. It looks great.
Yeah, I will also remind you that you were with me last week on saying that, and I quote, almost objectively, the black hair is so much better on GT Super Saiyan 4.
No, if you will get the quote correct, I said it contrasts better, almost objectively, which is true.
Okay.
No, it is true. It does. The black contrasts against the other colors better, and that is interesting. But in terms of an overall design, and that's why I started this by saying, like, whatever bets I was hedging last week in terms of, like, trying to be fair in a comparison, I think overall, in terms of color design, in terms of shape language, everything, I really do. I'm with Mark. I think that this Super Saiyan 4 is better than the original.
Yeah,
even if you want to try and nitpick stuff about the hair or the arm, forearm hair or anything, whatever.
Yeah, look, genuinely, right? Like, just think of it this way.
I'm not sold. I like it. I don't think it's better.
It kept all the bits. It kept all the bits that were fucking cool and good, and it improved in the bits that weren't.
Yeah.
People can be like, it doesn't need to have the black hair. It doesn't need the black hair. Black hair is stupid. Black hair doesn't make sense. Black hair looks cool, but not as cool as this.
I agree.
Come on.
That's where I am. I think the black hair looks cool. I think this looks cooler. And I think you'll be seeing more and more of that next episode. I think you will be I predict now next week you will be seeing on Twitter and Facebook or whatever hellhole you visit online comparisons of Super Saiyan 4 versus Daima Super Saiyan 4, and they're suddenly gonna be what we're saying is gonna sound a lot less ridiculous come next week when we see a whole lot of Super Saiyan 4 Goku in this design.
And I want you to know that not once did I think classic Super Saiyan 4 looked better. I was ride or die day one. This is just how it is. You just haven't figured it out yet. Anyone that doesn't agree, you will soon. And I forgive you.
True.
I don't think so. Again, I really like this form. I think it looks very, very sick. I don't think it will win over the original for me. Not sure.
Well, you like the hamster episode.
Maybe it will. Or you know what? Maybe it will next time. If you watch it with the English subtitles.
Yeah, if you understand what you're watching, that might help.
Yeah, I love needing subtitles for my visual forms.
Yeah. Well,
I
maybe
love needing context for the visual medium.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. The Super Saiyan 4. Super Saiyan 4 was cool. Everything about the scene was cool. I wouldn't change anything. Y'all are crazy if you think about the fucking the idea that there could even be a fucking the idea that there could even be a nitpick about how that Super Saiyan 2 looked. My God. Oh my God. Oh my God. If I could do anything half that good consistently, I'd be a millionaire. It's such a good scene. Okay? This is I would even say that I enjoyed this scene as much as I enjoyed the original version of this scene. And I'll say that because I watched it as a stupid fucking teenager. I'm watching this as a 33-year-old who has nothing better to do, but was like jaded from this show. And this thing picked me up from the pits of despair. I love this scene. I love this episode. This episode is so good. It's awoken my inner child. I'm no longer talking about narrative theory. I'm now smashing action figures together, saying, "Doesn't it look cool?" Yes. That's what I'm doing.
It had the same effect on me that the Kamehameha did last episode, where all of my nuanced thoughts about character work and for whatever doesn't matter. I was just standing up applauding.
But I get the fucking jackasses in the comments going, "Oh, AJ is all about just the spectacle and the visual." And Mark and Tyson are
it's
about
because you are.
You literally spoiled the best joke in the history of the franchise by maybe enjoying 60 or 70% of it based on visual timing.
If I watched it again today,
because you
still laughed out loud.
Is it better to hear a joke the second time? No. And you couldn't have enjoyed it as much as you could have in English the first time.
Oh my God.
And you'll never have that experience again.
I like the idea of AJ being in Japan, like doing a vacation abroad. He's like in a bar and he hears some like old guy over on the bar tell a joke and everybody laughs and he's like, that was exactly as good as if I understood it. I could tell it was funny because we were laughing.
A good joke is always funny, no matter what.
All right, somebody read out a joke in German, a famously good joke in German, and we'll let AJ tell how good it is.
Maybe we need to have his cadence, though. We need to have an actual German. Like does anyone here speak a second language?
You have misunderstood what I'm saying. I'm saying that me seeing the visuals of a joke and laughing, and then seeing the subtitle joke later and still laughing, it's still good because it is a good joke. It has not started to expire.
Yeah, but we're just saying you ruined the joke for yourself by not watching it that way the first time.
No one's saying that the joke isn't funny the second time. It's just not going to hit you the same way as it would the first time. It's for the exact same reason. A great movie is a great movie, but you don't want spoilers for that movie because it will impact the very first time you watch it.
100%.
Sure.
And that's all I'm saying is that
Mark, you've been you've been boning up on your Irish. Do you have any Irish jokes that you can tell AJ and you can figure out those?
No, absolutely not.
Curses. We gotta have it ready to go.
All of this like willful misinterpretation is killing me. So
it's not willful misinterpretation. You bring this
is.
upon yourself.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Fucking zero IQ shit.
Hang on.
No, I'm not engaged.
Half of that joke is the visual spectacle. You got to enjoy that 100%. But as an English speaker who watched it for the first time, I was able to read the context and enjoy the visual spectacle
at
the same time. I didn't need to compartmentalize it.
Happy for you. I flew to Japan in 2018 to see Broly in the cinema raw and had a fucking phenomenal time and still had a phenomenal time.
It's important to know that he doesn't just like it for the
I'm telling you
visuals.
that you can't have a great time with it. I'm just saying that like you could have enjoyed the visual and the context of the joke.
Yes,
same
and
time.
I still did when I watched it later.
Well, you could. Oh, look, it's not okay. Okay, we're moving on. It's not worth it.
AJ will just
Well,
forever
I mean,
be
there's
a live
nothing to
watcher.
move. There's nothing to move on
That's
to.
not true. There's
done?
the next episode preview.
Yeah, well,
actually,
that's what I mean. We have the
I
next
actually
episode
haven't
preview.
seen the next episode preview.
It's
actually
Shida wobbling and then like half a second of Yamamura, and that's it.
Yeah, that's all we get really. It's just a second.
How do
of
you
a
feel
Sheeta.
about Shida wobbles?
Like, this might be a controversial take or not. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
how could you nitpick something like what is wrong?
Well, I haven't seen it, so I mean, I can't say that I'm not. I haven't seen it. I'm only giving my take on Sheeta. I really liked all of his contributions to Daima so far, so I'm sure I'll love this. But I do remember in Super there was like all of his cuts kind of felt like there were
that's
elements
still
of him
true.
that were
That's
Yeah.
true
the same.
everywhere.
A Shida scene is going to follow the same formula. The camera will zoom in and out. The head will shake around as the camera's zooming in and out. The mouth will flap at 800 miles an hour, and the line art will be extremely thin and sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, like yeah.
And the beams will move like water.
I haven't seen Super in a while, but like there were
And it's
elements-
great. I should add, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. I suppose I'll just wait and see. I actually haven't seen the next episode preview, so I can't really say anything. Like judging like by these images.
Why did
like,
you
it
not
looks
watch
good.
the next episode preview?
I kind of got excited and I wanted to enjoy it just to see what it'll be like.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is literally all 3 shots that are in it, so you didn't miss much, but that is
Outstanding.
fun.
So we are getting action with Super Saiyan 4, which is good. So
If there's anything, because there's barely anything in this next episode preview, which tells me kind of similar to last week that the first half of this episode is going to be a brawl, and then the back half is going to be some, resolution, denouement type stuff. I will say, of what we saw, if there's any one thing that I really am looking forward to, it's I'm hoping that they continue the like pseudo Kaioken stuff that they were doing with Kid Super Saiyan 4, where we got the like Kaioken sound effects when he was what
the Kaioken in Super Saiyan. I'm confused. What do you mean? What?
In the episode before this?
Yeah. When he was a Kid Super Saiyan
4. Saiyan 4.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Kaioken-esque elements. There was the Kaioken sound effects when he was zipping around. And
oh, really?
like,
Okay.
the way he moved and the like shape design of his aura and stuff was very Kaioken-y. And I am hopeful that we will be seeing more of that based just on some of the stuff that we have seen in this next episode preview. Because I think that is a really clever way to like further contextualize and give like uniqueness to Super Saiyan 4, especially given how much people love Kaioken.
Oh yeah, anything to set it apart from like the regular Super Saiyan forms is always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm happy to see that kind of stuff. I thought you were saying that like you were like that there were theories that he was using Kaioken in tandem with Super Saiyan 4. I was like, I'm sorry, I would have been aware of this.
No.
Kaioken is my favorite thing in all of Dragon Ball. What the fuck? So
Whoa.
I'm being
Pause.
hyperbolic.
Pause. Rewind.
I'm being hyperbolic. It's
Did
not
this guy? Somebody check the tapes. Did this guy just say Kaioken?
Kaioken.
No, he
No, I
said
said
Kaioken. I think you misheard it.
We're gonna need to check the tapes.
Kaioken, I meant to say Kaioken. I don't think I ever really call it Kaioken.
I didn't hit Kaioken, but I don't know.
I wish I could just rewind, but I can't. We'll check. We'll check.
If only this mattered.
One thing I'll say. One thing I'll say about the next episode preview. So we know the final episode is not a bonus length episode. The
Got it.
time is locked in. It's a normal length episode. So I think you're correct that like the first half will be probably just like a crazy fucking sequence of Super Saiyan 4 beating Goma, whatever, and then we wrap up.
Yep.
But I guess what this does mean is that there will genuinely be no fusion stuff in this final battle.
Yeah,
will they
surely
even
not.
find the bag rather?
I do want to ask you guys though about like, okay, so obviously this fight needs to end with him slapping him at the back of the head 3 times, but it doesn't need to be just one person doing it. Who gets the last bonk in the head? I gotta.
Oh,
I gotta
my
say,
god! Oh my god! If
I gotta
Hybis throws his hat, I will scream.
Oh my god! Could you
See, right?
imagine?
It's perfect for a joke, because like obviously the first one's going to be Goku or Piccolo or something, right? One of those two, both of them will probably get the initial, like hit on the second one. But the third one's up for grabs. Vegeta's done for. I mean, he could potentially do it, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Goku, but I feel like there's room for a gag there. There has to be. Maybe even just something with it. It could even be Pansy. It could be Glorio. Probably it could very realistically be Glorio. But yeah, I'm just interested. Who wait, AJ's hoping for Hybis.
No, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh my god, Hybis has to throw the hat. If he doesn't, I would think I would literally have to knock an entire point off my final score for Daima if that doesn't happen. You've planted that seed in my brain, and I'm picturing it, and it would be phenomenal.
It would be very fun.
I would be so upset if that doesn't happen.
He made the ultimate. Yeah, he made the ultimate trade.
Oh
yeah, Ku and Do could do it as well. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of people that could potentially be the candidate for the bonk on the head, so to speak. Yeah.
I look forward to it, even if it's slightly contrived. I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
We need to rate the episode.
We do need to rate the episode.
Okay, I'm going to make it easy. This one was like, I enjoyed this episode a lot. Does anyone remember what I gave episode 8? It was like a 9.5.
Not off the dome ski.
I really should have written them down.
Yeah. We've gone all this way and have never actually written down the reviews.
I mean, like, this episode was like just fucking. It's good, dumb Dragon Ball fun. Probably 8.5. I really enjoyed this episode. Yeah.
I think that's about where I'm at. I think an 8.5, give or take 0.2 points, is where I'm at. Maybe, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
AJ?
I see. I don't even want to rate things anymore. You was very mean to me. If I were to rate on my scale, on my metric, as I have done for this entire series, probably like maybe an 8. It was fun. I definitely was enthused by it.
So this is worse than the hamster episode, to be clear.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Of course.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm afraid the hamsters reign supreme.
Yeah, he'll nitpick the aesthetic of like the coolest Super Saiyan 2 transformation, whatever. But he'll like accept that there was like a dog whose character sheet included a butthole.
Hey, that's the best part of the episode. Calm down.
The best part of the episode.
Yeah,
and that's the greatest condemnation.
The funniest part of the episode is
that's the greatest condemnation of that episode I've ever heard.
Oh, I agree.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I agree.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm not judging. I agree that I think AJ's rating for this week is reasonable. I think it's reasonable.
Oh, I'm glad you approve, and I am not being insulted.
No.
As if you've never insulted either of us when you disagree.
Oh, I would never. I am a pure, mature, lovely human being who would never be nasty over a difference of opinion.
None of us have ever roasted each other on this podcast. That has not happened.
Never.
And it never will. Mark my words.
No, I would
consider them
never insult your intelligences.
All right. Super chat time, right?
It's super chat time.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me look at the list. Okay, we still got enough space that we could take some more. So I will reiterate the super chat situation, which is you can submit in. There's no minimum amount. Submit a question or ask Mark to ask you a question. It really doesn't matter.
People to ask them questions. It's so weird.
And we will continue taking them probably until the end of the episode by the looks of it. So if you got one, we still got room.
Yeah. And again, the only rule is you just can't ask about my situation right now. That's all.
Yeah. None of that, unfortunately. But yeah. In any case, I will move on into the first super chat, which is the first super chat is from Jake Hobeck, who says, in y'all's opinion, Is Daima better than Super?
It was already better than Super from episode 1.
I was going to say,
yes.
do we want to all answer in unison? Because I don't think there is much debate to be had here. I don't know. Mark, maybe. Mark, do you think that Super
Mark's
is better
a
than
super simp, yeah.
Super Sim, sorry. Have you seen my review of Super? I'll largely agree, but the thing is, like, I'll probably have to caveat it a bit because, like, there are a long laundry list of elements that Daima hits far better than Super. But there are some things that Super did maybe better than Daima. So, like,
I would say
I probably enjoyed Daima. See, okay. So this is what makes it frustrating, or this is what makes it complicated for me to answer, right? Because Super was sort of like ass right out the gate with all the fucking terrible animation and like retreading the old movies, and that wasn't fun, right? And then it kind of built up and got better over time. Daima started with and has so much promise. I could see how amazing it could be, and it never fully lived up to that for me, and that disappointed me more than anything Super did, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of complicated emotions. Like, I can obviously say that like Daima's like artistic approach to whatever it's doing is like by orders of magnitude better than whatever Super was doing. There's no like, but that's not an interesting opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Super is a more narratively ambitious show on paper, but doesn't capitalize on any of that at all. Whereas Daima is a very simple show that doesn't necessarily execute all of its simple elements well, but it's not done anything that quite offends me. I think it kind of depends where your values are. Like, I think, you know, the sort of excitement and mystery of following the Goku Black arc week to week for me was really, really cool. Obviously, it didn't fulfill that promise in the end, but I had a really good time with it. I didn't really like anything else in Super outside of that, so it's kind of just like whether the high points of excitement there really match up to what Daima has made me feel. I don't know. It's also difficult because it's as depressing as it is, Super is 10 years old this year, and I am 10 years older. I'm a very different person now, and it's quite difficult to also think about that and how I receive that kind of thing, because Super also had the benefit of being the first Dragon Ball series in a bajillion years. Like, it was, oh my god, it's back, holy shit, and that gave it a lot of goodwill for sure. So yeah, it can definitely be hard to compare, but I think just like purely looking at it from the perspective of how upset did Super make me and how excited did it make me, yeah, I think Daima made me less upset, maybe didn't make me quite as excited, but I would prefer not being mad enough at a show to like drop it for several weeks like Super did at certain points. So, you know.
Yeah, I would say, like, for all its faults, there's a few things that Super did well. It did big action set pieces well. By the end, anyways, maybe towards
the end.
By the end, and it
great sense of community.
Well, yeah, that's really separate from it. I would say it attempted some world building stuff, and some of it was good, and some of it fell flat. But I will give it a point for the stuff that didn't fall flat. And it crafted some compelling narratives, mainly just with Goku Black. A little bit of some stuff. I'll also say it has some really great character designs. I think the character designs in Super, as far as like new characters go, blows away, like, you know, if you compare it to like GT, for instance. So it had cool designs, great action set pieces, and occasionally crafted some like genuinely compelling narratives. Of those three, obviously Daima nailing the action set pieces.
Sometimes.
Always.
It does have low moments when it did for me. I thought Vegeta versus Tamagami 2 was really good, but
that one exception aside, we all agree that wasn't great. It nails those for the most part. The compelling narratives, not so much. I mean, it's a little apples and oranges because I don't really think Daima
it just
was
depends what
necessarily
kind of Dragon
going
Ball
for that.
fan you are, really. Yeah, it just depends what kind of Dragon Ball fan you are.
And the designs, I also think looks great. So even just looking at the genuine positives of Super, I think Daima matches blow for blow with Super on those in most of it, like 2 out of 3, 60% somewhere in there of that. And boy, does it lack a lot of the lows of Super. So that
Absolutely.
mixed with just feeling more like a Toriyama work, feeling more like a genuine continuation of Dragon Ball as a manga, I cannot imagine me personally preferring Super over Daima ever in any context. But I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's fair.
Next question.
Yep. Next question. Well, this one isn't so much a question, but it just says, AJ, we stand with you. Heart, Yuya Takahashi is a god. That's the whole super chat.
If only we knew the context, but I agree.
Indeed. Takahashi is insane. Yeah.
It is.
The
Brilliant.
amount of work that went into that final sequence for him was absurd. Like, you know, there are things about it that I'm obviously hesitant to say at this point, but like just genuinely the amount of work that went into that final sequence, just insane. Inhuman.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't understand how he does it. He's super
Like,
talented, and I
A
love him for it.
single cut, right? A single cut. And for people who don't know, a cut is just like anytime the camera cuts, like that is a cut. A single cut of that took him 3 days to do. And some of those cuts are so short, like just to put together drawings of that caliber, of that complexity, to clean all of that up, so much work.
But you
Insane.
gotta, like, I mean, obviously, like Takahashi, obviously he's a known name now, right? But
Mhm.
he's still very much someone like you and I who grew up with Dragon Ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was a massive fan of the series. Could you imagine being gifted the scene that he was gifted to do? He gets to pay homage to like possibly one of the coolest scenes from the Buu arc, with Goku just trying to stall. Like, and he delivered. It looked awesome. I gushed about it for 20 minutes on this very feckin' show. You know, like I'm just trying to put myself into the headspace of him, because realistically, we're kind of from the same generation, you know? We watched the same show growing up, probably around not the exact same time, but not super far apart either. Like, I couldn't imagine being tasked with something like that, with that level of responsibility. But like, God, he just absolutely killed it. I loved it.
I mean, he earned it. His work on Super made a name for itself instantly and unequivocally.
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
Not to mention Broly.
Yeah, I think what's quite funny about Takahashi's appearance here is that, like, obviously he's been on this show a lot. Like, he's done a lot of animation supervision, either like in the main position or assistant stuff. But he hasn't done any like key animation of his own since episode 2. So
Yeah.
it made me laugh so much that it was like, he did like one child scene and a little cool adult stuff in episode 1 and 2, and then vanished and did no more key animation until they were adults again, and he could do his trademark 8 million shading. It's like, I see where your priorities are.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it really makes sense, because if you think back to the episodes that he supervised, not did key animation for, but supervised, we had, or at least you especially, I wasn't bothered, but you had some like critiques on how he approached the like kid aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, of course he saved all of his fucking beans for when they're adults and he can be like lay epic Takahashi.
Yeah.
I'm also not gonna criticize. Like, I can understand why some people who are big into the art style of stuff like would want to see the idiosyncrasies between artists, but like, I was really impressed by like his ability to honor the character sheets so closely. I mean, like, if nothing else, that's just a sign of a consummate professional, in my view.
Yeah. I mean, that was never really my issue with some of the
that's
the
where
stuff
I'm with.
Yeah.
that he did with the kid characters, but we'd be here for 40 hours if I started talking
True.
about that, so it's fine.
True. All right.
The next super chat is from our good Irish friend Niall Harrington, who
Hello,
says,
Niall.
do you think Super Saiyan 4 or Daima characters will appear in the manga, or will the rights issue between Capsule Corporation Tokyo and Shueisha mean that they remain anime only?
I truly have no idea. I don't know anything about that litigation stuff. I have no idea.
Who can say that whole situation? I just, even to this day, I don't really fully understand it. I just don't understand how
Yeah.
like you as a person, in this case Akio Ioku, can just like steal Dragon Ball. Like what?
Yeah. I don't
Very
know. I suppose
confusing.
I suppose like I mean like this is a question that only time can tell really, you know. We
Yeah.
gotta leave it up to Father Time. See what happens. See how things land.
I hope that it comes back because I really love the characters that have been
Oh yeah,
crafted in
absolutely.
Daima. And
Yeah.
I said this last week, but I think if they manage to revisit the characters or the world of Daima in future stuff, I think that will retroactively make some of, not all, but some of our complaints about Daima recontextualized into not being as big of a problem. So I'm all for it on multiple fronts.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I'd love to see it. It makes it more it makes Daima like more important as well, which is always a good thing.
Yep. Jen and Sofa Pod, they submit in saying, now that it feels like Super Saiyan 4 is officially back, how do you think they will incorporate it with future projects? Also, one episode left. Do you think we will get Fusion or Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta?
Well, like this is kind of like the first part of that question kind of ties into the whole rights thing. I mean, like if they can get the rights, I'd imagine they'll use that. But if they can't get the rights, I'm sure they'll just default back to the subpar black-haired one. The I'm joking. It's not subpar, but it is worse.
He's kind of joking.
Yeah. It's not.
I
subpar.
fully expect your Daima review to have like a 15-minute segment, like just breaking down why you adore the new version.
Oh, I'll just have like I'll just superimpose like the 20-minute segment of me just gushing and sucking Daima's cock for like whatever purpose in this live stream. I'll just put that on it and just kind of put footage to it. It'll be perfect. It'll be seamless. People won't notice.
Incredible.
Yeah. What was the second part of that? It was asking something more specific.
Do you think that we will see Fusion or Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta in Daima?
Fusion or Super Saiyan 4? No, I don't think that'll happen at all. I think the most that'll happen with the fusion bugs at this point is going to be either a gag or refuse Shin Kibito, which wouldn't make sense still. So I honestly have no idea what they're doing with that. So yeah.
AJ?
Yeah. I think no for Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta because I don't think they would have given him 3 otherwise. Like I think it.
Yeah.
I think like that's kind of done. And yeah, I don't think we're getting any fusion. I think they'll either make it a gag or they'll literally just forget about it, and that would be extremely funny.
How? Why? Why would you forget about? That's not funny. That's irresponsible.
Settle down there, AJ.
And it's ironically funny. Not it like it's like that would peeve me. I would be peeved if that happens. If it just turns out to be nothing, that would be insulting.
I think it's a possibility.
It's definitely a possibility, and that's what's scary. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It was originally conceived of as a like side story type situation, so I think there is a very reasonable chance that this just ends up being like a standalone thing and nothing else really comes from it.
Disgusting behavior. How could they?
We'll see.
Hey,
we'll see.
Look at this beautiful Chekhov's gun. Isn't it cute? Don't touch it though, and no one ever will. It's such a weird thing to take. Yeah. Next question. There's no point. I'm sure we'll have another discussion about it next week.
Yeah.
Whether or not I begin the podcast angry, you will get your answer then.
Okay. The next super chat is from Sayak Gangopandhyai. That's my very best attempt. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Who says, why didn't Vegeta use Super Saiyan 3 versus Beerus in Dragon Ball Super?
Because they hadn't designed this series yet.
Yeah, because that was like 10 years ago.
That's literally the reason, and it's the only one that you should care about.
Yeah.
The non-boring answer, I guess, is that like it wasn't like Super Saiyan 3 is not a rage transformation, and so it didn't make sense to use something so like energy draining.
If you entertain, I'm sorry. If you enter, if you okay, if you even begin to entertain this school of thought, you are in for a world of hurt. Why didn't he use it against literally anybody? It's not like there were inconsequential.
Entertaining the question.
There's nothing entertaining about that question. It's a stupid question. They know the answer. They know the actual answer, but they ask the question anyway. They ask the question anyway because they want us to get angry about it. But I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to fall for their bullshit.
No. Don't bully the people who feed me.
Yeah,
nice
settle down, Mark. Listen, Sayak,
nice.
I thought your question was great.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
God damn it. The next super chat is from Edge Bedlam. Edge, nice. Who says, shouldn't all characters be named after food, not instruments, cells, Disney phrases, colors, numblers, and toddlers?
Numblers? What are numblers?
I don't understand the question. No.
Are they asking questions about like the naming convention for human characters?
Say the question one more time.
Shouldn't all characters be named after food, not instruments, cells, Disney phrases, colors, numbers, and toddlers?
No. The naming schemes in Dragon Ball have always been like named after like patterns of stuff, and like one of those patterns is food, but not everything should be named after food.
Yeah, and the Disney convention they're talking about is obviously Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, right?
Yeah.
No.
I think it's
next question.
Yeah.
The next super chat comes from Alpha Needs a Diet, who says, how did Shenron make the cast weaker?
By making them children.
By making them children.
That's a pretty pivotal plot point of the first and second episode.
Yeah,
you must have really hated Dragon Ball Daima. No. I mean, so. If you wanted me to give a more serious answer, by getting smaller, they are not only physically weaker, but the ability with which that they can deploy their powers is dramatically hindered, and that's why they can fight as tenaciously and well against Goma now as adults, despite being fatigued. So yeah, that's why. They just
there's no like rule about Shenlong like being able to do things to people. No, never mind. Actually, I was going to talk about.
He's going to do it again.
No, I was going to talk about power differences, but then I remembered that, of course, like wasn't
you have friends and you have a life, and you wouldn't ever dare talk about power scaling because
it literally doesn't matter. Never mind.
Well, and also just there is a rule for that. That is kind of the whole crux of why they had to make them kids instead of just making them weaker.
Yeah. No. I remember that part, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Next super chat comes from Helix. Oh no, this is discouraging. It starts with to Tyson.
Haha. I don't have to talk. Fantastic.
It says, to Tyson, the video you wrote 2 years ago wasn't correct about Sumitomo's work. He made
he's right about this.
He made the Budokai OST in 2012, and Resurrection F OST was produced after Battle of Gods.
Yeah, I actually meant to DM you about this, but
what specific claim is this talking about?
So in the video we made, so basically in the video we made about like Sumitomo stuff, like one of your popular things about Kai's OST, you've always said that like, oh, he had no time because he was producing this next to Resurrection F. But or you either said Resurrection F or Battle of Gods. I'm pretty sure it was Resurrection F. But actually, what the reality is that Bukai was first put together actually in 2012, even before Battle of Gods. The voice cast recorded in 2012, in fact, because it was put together at the behest of Funimation, who wanted to continue Kai on. So it was put together back then, and then it was shelved for a bit because they wanted a TV deal. And Sumitomo spoke about actually recording. He recorded Resurrection F about a year before it or started putting together Resurrection F about a year before it came out. And so like there was a timeline in that video that just didn't quite gel. It turned out that like he had time for a lot of this stuff, but yeah, just the claim that like it was super rushed because it was alongside stuff wasn't quite accurate.
Sure. Well, that's interesting new
Tyson
information. I
catching
like that.
fucking strays 2 years later. How embarrassing!
It's funny
With
that
information that wasn't available. To be fair. Go on, AJ. What's funny?
no, I just thought it was funny that this came in as a super chat.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
I love the dedication to correcting information, and to be fair, I like having that information because I love.
I think it's
correct.
Yeah, I think it's an easy thing to miss because the information about when Bukai was actually put together is fairly underreported.
Yeah.
Kanzenshi reported it at the time because it came from Mayumi Tanaka, Krillin's voice actor, also accidentally leaking Kai as a project at the time. On her blog, she was like, "Oh yeah, we're recording for this right now in 2012," and then of course like it didn't manifest on TV until 2 years later. Kai Bukai was just a very weird thing.
That is certainly true. That's interesting to know, though. That timeline and it getting shelved is interesting. I want to look into that more later. So thank you for that
stuff.
The next super chat. Yes. Mark?
Next question.
Are you gonna read it?
No, because I can't.
Okay. The next question. The next super chat.
Next question.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The next super chat is from Arnolfo Mendez, who says, "I love the squabble up top and the multilingual jokes down below," referring to AJ watching live. I wish we had a multilingual joke to give AJ so he could tell us if it was funny or not.
Legadish Kakuramukt, air to screwed fall pair. Latrurica, August Nakeshina.
AJ, what do you think about that joke?
Yeah.
I mean, without visual comedy to go with it, who could possibly say?
Who could possibly say? But you know what? If I was listening to that episode as an audio drama, I would laugh. Just saying.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I thought you said you didn't have any Irish jokes, Mark, or did you just look that one up?
If there's anyone who's listening to this for whatever reason from Ireland, you will know exactly what I just said, and you will know that it's not a joke. But any person from Ireland will laugh when they hear it.
Oh, is it that that thing that you guys had to say in school all the time?
No, you're thinking of Unmulcaticum Dulgadian Laris, which is, may I go to the bathroom, please?
I see.
Yeah, or may I go to the bathroom?
Either answer is valid, but are you just going to not let us in on what you said, or are you going to tell us?
No. You can't know. It's one of those things that you gotta like. It wouldn't be funny if I told you.
You had to be there.
Funny. Yeah, you literally you had to be there.
I find that answer acceptable.
Yeah.
The next super chat. Oh, sorry, AJ.
No, I'm just sighing. You go ahead.
Okay. I thought you were ready to clap back.
No, nothing to clap back with here.
The next super chat is from Daniel Barrios, who says, "Was curious, AJ, if you're surprised as I am by how little key animation Takahashi and Kubota have done. Not complaining about show animation, just shocked by how little KA they've done."
Yes, well, so Kubota I'm not shocked by because his presence was really just like a guest appearance between projects. Off the top of my head, I might be misremembering. I think he's working on a movie for something right now. So yeah, Daima was never like I think he was gonna like contribute to in any meaningful like extended way. The lack of Takahashi key animation I do find surprising. That is kind of insane to me. But you know, certain people just have different speeds when it comes to working on things, and you know, I know that there were some episodes where he wanted to do some key animation but didn't have time. So it may just be a speed thing. I know when he did animation direction on, I believe it was World Trigger's third season, it was a similar thing where like he contributed key animation early on and at the end, but otherwise just supervised in the middle. And I guess maybe that's just like, because I think like we think of Takahashi as this like big crazy, you know, titan of an animator, and he is. But in the grand scheme of like a career as an animation supervisor, it's still like fairly fresh. I think you would keep that in mind. So like, maybe over time, as like his speed becomes better, maybe you'll see like more animation when he is taking on supervision roles too. But yeah, I guess at the moment it's too much of a challenge to try and do both at the same time.
Yeah, his time sacrifice was worth it though, because his episode was primo and that section that he did was Kino. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Mark's learning new words. He knows Kino now.
I've been using Kino for a while. Sorry, excuse you.
Have you?
Yes.
You didn't even know what Skibbity Toilet was like a month ago.
Sorry. I do, and have known about Skibbity Toilet for quite a while, because I am unfortunately shackled to the online ecosphere against my will.
Somebody rolled a literal clip of Mark finding out what Skibbity Toilet was.
That wasn't like a week ago. When did you say? Like a month ago?
I said months ago.
No, you said a month ago.
I said like a month ago. But either way, we have a clip of you learning what Skibbity Toilet was, and seeing
which
it
was
for the first
months
time.
ago.
Wasn't that during one of the Patreon Q&A?
Yes, the Patreon Q&A.
It must have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't 2025, just to be clear. It was like autumn 2024.
That's still very recent. Recent enough that I'm surprised that you know Kino. I'm proud of you.
It isn't super recent to the point where like I'm an old man. But it's also, but it's also. I think it would be I don't think there would be a greater condemnation of my character than if I knew about Skibbity Toilet at the same time as 13-year-olds. Then I'm doing something wrong. That's creepy. I think I knew. I think I learned about Skibbity Toilet at just the right time. Okay, that's my argument.
A millennial is never early nor late. They are simply on time.
Correct.
Oh man.
Okay, I'll move on. Just to get us away from Skibbity Toilet, though I do enjoy this conversation.
By the way, Skibbity Toilet is cringe as fuck. Okay, that's my 2 cents. It's just
That's just very skibbity of you.
It's just YouTube poop. We've done it before. It's just YouTube poop. It's fucking. It's fine. They're at that point of their lives where they need a Skibbity Toilet, and I'm not going to deprive them of it. But YouTube poop was cringe. That's cringe too. That's my take.
That's the correct answer. Every generation has some cringe shit, and this is just one of them.
Correct.
It's just not very Sigma of you. Come on.
I don't want to be a fucking Sigma. Jesus Christ.
Kind of beta right now.
No.
Yeah, that's not very Tyson out of you.
Yeah.
All right, now we got to move on. We're reaching the extremity of what I'm actually aware of.
He's run out.
Tax.
Yeah, dude. Phantom tax, dude.
Okay.
That's on fleek.
On fleek is fucking old. That's an old thing to say.
That was a joke. Chelly ASMR submits. They say no one's talking about a Piccolo and Goku fusion. Throwback to when they did the dance in the Buu saga. They are teamed up for the final blow.
There would be literally no reason narratively for them to fuse. In fact, it would actually fly in the face of like the benefit they get from being in 2 separate places to hit him in the back of the head. There would be no reason for that to happen. So just temper your expectations now.
I've considered that it would be funny.
You have said that it would be funny if they didn't do anything with the join bug,
and that's true.
That would be hilarious.
That would be funny. Frankly, I'm still hoping that nothing comes of the Tertian Oculus.
What the fuck? What? You're still hoping that nothing comes from the thing that is currently in use.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
What's your question?
Okay.
I don't understand.
I don't know what my question is, but I am looking for our next question. And you know what? I'll ask. Is there another question?
There are still other questions.
Okay, then read one of them.
The next super question comes from One Cool Boy 98, who says, if Dragon Ball made a movie/arc that could make the human fighters relevant or on par with Goku again in modern Dragon Ball, parentheses, similar to what Superhero did for Piccolo and Gohan, close parentheses, what would you want to see story/character wise? This is a Mark question through and through.
I I don't know if I'd want to I don't know if I'd want that movie. I feel like it would be forcing something into existence, but I guess that's kind of the point of the question.
I have an answer.
Like you fucking I don't know, teach them all Kaioken. Fuck it. Yeah, okay. AJ has an answer. That'll be definitely infinitely more interesting than whatever I come up with right now off the top of my head. So go for it.
No! Don't go too far now.
Oh,
No,
dear.
don't go too far now.
But have you considered it would be really funny if they all just turned into hamsters?
Oh my god.
That'd be a 9.5 out of 10 movie.
Yep. No, I think it would be cool. I think we should bring Videl back into the fray again and like have a spin-off series where like somehow that happens and they become as strong as like Goku and Vegeta and they're doing like cool crime fighting stuff. We could call it like My Adventures with Gohan and Videl. And yeah, I think that would be kind of sick. I think
that would be good.
Yeah. Who's with me?
Mark doesn't get that joke, but I'm sure some people in the audience will.
I'm tired, guys. I'll be honest with you now. I'm tired. Okay. I've been running fumes all day.
I have always been a proponent, in Dragon Ball especially, of letting characters have their time and then fade into the background when they're done. It's been happening time immemorial. We had Yamcha, he was relevant, and then he stopped being relevant. We had Oolong, he was there all the time, and then he wasn't. We had Roshi being super relevant, and then he phased out. Tenshinhan phased out. Piccolo pseudo phased out. Gohan phased out. I'm fine with it. I think we should let characters reach a conclusion. So I'm fine, personally, with the human characters not being super relevant anymore. I think you can find ways to make them relevant without foolishly boosting their power, like giving them some like side, like B plot with stakes. I think the Moro stuff did that a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, like I think the stuff that they did with like I know AJ isn't a fan of the Tournament of Power and stuff, but conceptually, the idea of including them as like they are relatively strong compared to 99.99999% of the universe, and so it made sense for them to participate in the tournament. And some of them had cool shit to do. Other people were Tenshinhan. So swings and roundabouts.
I mean, sometimes you don't even really need to do anything. You can just like make Roshi fight Jiren and just be like, fuck it.
Yep. And
I hated that, unfortunately. I don't understand people who thought that was
not good.
Surely
next
one
question, please.
Premium examples of why narratively, quote unquote, power scaling is sometimes important.
True.
The next super chat. Actually, before I move on, I just want to say, one cool boy, if you're still here. I don't know if you've ever seen those TikToks where those random like South Asian kids compete for food. One of them's named Cool Boy. That's what I think of all the time when I think of you. His name is Cool Boy, and that's what I think of. Wait, Mark, why do you sound so startled?
I was just kind of like perplexed by the. Was that the first time Perplex was using this epispat, by the way? That just shows the caliber of the episode.
I think it was.
I just saved the streak right there, guys. Okay, so first of all, I need a pat in the back for that. And I was just reacting, just to the sheer obscurity of the reference you were making, because I had never heard of such a thing, let alone the specific person you were talking about. So I was impressed by the specificity by which you were leaning on for the context of that particular thing.
I'm not afraid. I'm simply not afraid of that.
Okay.
But in any case, the next super chat is from Vulcan, who says, "I got nothing to ask. Love you at TNM Team." That's it. Thank you very much.
He sounds like a dickhead. I'm joking. Thank you so much. That's really nice. I needed that today.
Oh, Mark. What will we do with you?
I'm in a very weird mood today.
I can tell.
Yeah, people in the chat have noticed too.
I think I prefer it though.
Yeah, it's.
I like it.
You're like really happy today.
That's really what it is.
Like, it was a fun episode, and this is what happens when I enjoy the things that I'm watching, and don't feel sad about watching it.
The next super chat is from Cascope, who says, "Dragon Ball Super greater than Dragon Ball Daima. Parentheses, quality aside, plus manga included."
I think at this juncture, to set an example, for someone who is clearly a child. We need to lead by example and say something like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, just as you are yours.
I really enjoy how hateful you are today. You should bring this hateful energy around more often.
What's hateful about what I just said? I was just acknowledging the reality that this person is clearly negative 40 years old, and that's fine. And understanding and acknowledging the handicap,
Oh,
I just said
Jesus.
we should be mindful of just like everyone's entitled to their opinion, wrong as they may be. I'm understanding.
I mean, you should bring this energy to your YouTube videos. You're very like, oh, we can't upset anyone. We must sort of be.
If I'm being completely transparent here, this is what I'm like every day in real life. This is just what I'm like.
Wow, I can't believe you fake your attitude on YouTube. That's really.
I just want to be polite. I just want to be polite because like a lot of.
You want to be polite? You'd be calling people children.
Well, not today.
Not now.
Today's the exception. No.
Yeah, I'm taking the training weights off. It's fine.
Now is not the time for politeness, AJ. Get a goddamn grip.
Yeah, this is what I'm like every day.
I wonder if they're still in the chat. If you are, sound off on how you feel about that response to your super chat.
Thank you as well for the donation, by the way. That was very kind.
This guy.
The next super chat is from Zekin, who says, "Great ep. Mark, please review manga, superhero, and pro epilogue."
I can't because these two dickheads told me not to.
No, I said it was fine now. We have substantial
Yeah, there
material.
is more now. I still don't think it's necessarily worth it, but there is a better case to be made now, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, we have more pressing matters like pandas or something. I don't know what happens in JJK.
Oh yeah, we're like reviewing JJK like super soon.
Yeah, I'm still not like mentally over you not getting the panda question in the quiz. That was very funny.
That was good.
And look, this will illustrate exactly how my brain works. I do not know what question you're talking about because I do not remember the question.
What is the name of the panda from JJK?
Oh, okay. Now I remember the answer to the question.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's panda.
It's
well
panda. What's next? Let me refine my place. Oh, here we go. Next super chat is again from Chelly ASMR. Oh, actually, before I move on, I just want to run back a tiny bit and say the person that was like, Dragon Ball Super is better than Daima, and Mark called him a child, they do have a screenshot from Daima as their profile picture. I want to point that out because I think it's funny.
Let me know if we get a screenshot of their birth certificate too.
Where was I at? Oh, yeah. Chelly ASMR submits in a second super chat. They say, your opinion on Toei continuing Dragon Ball anime, picking up from Daima instead of finishing Super timeline, now with Toriyama gone, using modern movies and Daima as the current timeline, rather than trying to connect everything in Super manga. That was worded a little strangely, but they're asking your opinion on that concept.
That would be very funny.
To be honest, like, with Toriyama gone, like with Toriyama gone, like the continuation of the series is already kind of up in the air. It's kind of being, is Toyotaro going to be
well,
bringing
it's
it?
not up in the air. Yoku and
well,
Go
no,
have
but like
already
I mean,
been,
in terms of like the quality of what it will be, I think like I at the end of the day, I just want high quality, enjoyable Dragon Ball stories. Whether or not that is possible without Toriyama, I'm sure is likely, but will it be what we get? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I would prefer it that way, if only just because like I've said a million times, I feel so much more of Dragon Ball's soul in this series than I do what I experienced in Super. So having Dragon Ball's future hinge on this rather than Super would make me happy, but anything would make me happy, I guess. I don't know.
You heard it here first. Anything will make Tyson happy.
That's true. That's why I'm here, Mark. Seeing your face is enough.
I know. That's why I do it.
That's why he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Something Jacket submits. They say, reminding you to check for Kikuchi in the soundtrack. We will do that right now.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I didn't forget, but I was glad when they submitted this in because it gave me just as good of an excuse as any to go check it.
Also, while you're checking that, I've been seeing a lot of comments in the chat talking about why do I look so red and angry. I have no idea why the fuck I'm so red today. I don't look this red in person. I even got up to change the kind of like the intensity of like the yellow light. I changed it to more of a cool tone. I have no idea why I look so fucking red. So
Reflecting your soul today.
Yeah,
I'm not even hot.
Full of rage.
I'm not even angry. I'm not even angry. You might even make if you want to compare this episode against any of the other episodes. I am more upbeat this episode than I've been in practically every other one. Maybe not episode 8. So yeah, like everyone's saying Kaioken Mark, which to be honest I can get on board with because I fuck with Kaioken. That's my favorite move in the entire series. But
it is sick.
I then look at myself and I'm all shiny and red and stuff, so I kind of looking like an Irish tomato. And I'm not
hit us with the Jubaida by the end of the episode.
Yeah, I was almost not nerdy enough to get that reference, but I got it.
No,
Okay.
you're there.
Yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately.
AJ, what was the timestamp? Was it like 11:20 something?
11:33 or something, or 11:35. I think that's what they were saying.
I'm at 11:30, so I'm just gonna hold on. I'm gonna put it up on stream.
Yeah, go to about 11:50.
11:50.
It reminds me. It feels very like Kikuchi pilled to me.
All right, let's
Someone's
see.
saying 11:33. If that's right, then I'm right, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, we're gonna play it. Let's see.
Joe Biden.
I can almost think of like a Kikuchi track that sounds like that.
Yeah.
No. Okay, yeah, I mean, you're right that this is an old track. It's been played a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I don't think it's particularly Kikuchi-esque at all. But
I think you're an insane person.
I think you're a cutie.
thank you.
Actually,
Oh,
hear
dude.
the
Someone should make a like a Valentine's Day card that is that. I think you're a cutie. And it's just that one picture of Kikuchi that everybody always uses.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I don't even know the one you're talking about, so I don't pass that threshold of nerdy. So I'm actually pleased with that. So.
No, that just means that you're not an editor, that you haven't been editing Dragon Ball in a long time. Because if you were, you would have had to have used that picture a great many times by now.
No.
Okay, so that one done. We've got 3 left, boys, and then we're in the bag. The first one is from Revan Taker, who says, was Mark against showering a foreshadowing / subversion of expectations of Vegeta's love for baths with Bulma? Genius meta-analysis, guys. Okay. Was Mark being against showering a foreshadowing of Vegeta's love for baths with Bulma is really the question here.
Holy shit! What a perfect stars aligning moment.
That is
Yes,
true.
it
We
was.
spent so much of this podcast talking about showering, and it really
Yep.
came full circle.
Yep.
Oh
Daima
my
did so
God.
little foreshadowing in its own series, we had to supplement our own. And by
Oh
God,
my God.
it worked.
But that joke was foreshadowed, so your dunk there doesn't
I know.
even work.
Hey, look, I was just making a joke, okay? No need to rain on my parade, all right? Because I do it myself in the shower. Zing! It rains on get it. Okay.
Concerning.
Hey, look, I'm trying here, okay? You're giving me nothing.
Great.
I want to go home.
I am
You're
home,
already
and I
home.
already want to leave. So-
What is wrong with you people? The second to last super chat is from Proto-EXE, who... Oh, this is a great super chat. Thank you, Proto-EXE. AJ, this one's
he
for
said
you. This-
unrealistic expectations.
No, this
No,
means
and
it's going to be a fucking terrible question. Then.
No. The super chat from Proto-EXE, which is great, says, ¿Por qué el Tama se fue al hospital Tamalito?
I need
I've
a
got-
visual reference, I'm afraid.
I've a feeling that you've butchered that execution.
I mean, that's true. I didn't look at it very long.
But to be fair, if there's anyone in this entire call that will be able to deliver a Spanish joke, it's probably you, because I didn't study Spanish at all.
That's true. I did. Okay. Part 1, I did take 3 years of Spanish. Part 2,
I took
it was
only
3
1
years
year.
of Spanish in Tennessee, rural Tennessee. So a little bit of a Peggy Hill type situation going on, but your
Gotcha.
observation is still astute.
To be fair, it's probably still better than in like, you know, the 1 year of Irish Spanish that I got. So
¿Dónde
is possible.
está la biblioteca?
Very good, AJ.
I couldn't tell you that because I don't live where you live.
Ah.
But at least you know what he was saying. That's where it's
Bonjour.
good, right?
Ça va?
Very good.
Can you
Is
tell
that
us
the
what that
extent
means?
of your French? Is that actually the extent of your French?
No.
It
There's
sounds
more French
possible.
there.
Comment tu t'appelles?
Konbanwa o genki desu ka?
That's
Ginky?
Japanese, not
Like
French.
Ginky Dama?
Yeah.
Do you think you know more Japanese than French, AJ?
So I think about this a lot. Like
Why?
I did a lot of French at school.
You did, yeah.
But I remember very little of it. Whereas like I picked up a lot of Japanese either from like personal study or like just anime exposure or like looking at interviews or trying to fucking decipher the insane shit that animators tweet out or message.
Or trying to understand what's being said in an episode that could be subtitled later.
Or that. And so I wonder at this point if I would probably be better with Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have I already said on this podcast that I have a recurring nightmare about being in Japan and only being able to speak Spanish? Because if I haven't, that ties into multiple things we've just been talking about.
That is frighteningly specific, particularly when it comes to you being scared that the only thing that you'll be able to say is in a language you're not fluent in.
Well,
Have
yeah,
I ever
that's
told you about the. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say that's the crux of the nightmare. It's like I'm in Japan, and I do know some Japanese. I know most of my like kana and stuff, or at least hiragana and katakana. But like the crux of the nightmare is I'm in Japan. I know I'm supposed to be speaking Japanese, but I don't know enough of it, and so all I default to is like a different second language, which is stupid. And then I'm like, wow, I look like a fucking idiot. And I've had that nightmare like probably 10 times at least.
Well, what I was going to say was that like I've almost kind of lived this nightmare in real life. I think I might have told Tyson this before. I don't remember if I told Mark this about when I first went to Japan 10 years ago, and I had very very rudimentary Japanese back then. But I think like you sometimes just end up on autopilot, and that can put you in some very like tricky situations where like we were in a museum with a tour guide, and like I don't know why I did this. I wasn't really thinking, but I like was pointing to this object behind the glass, and I was like, "Oh, kore wa nan desu ka?" Like, what is this?
You did
And of
tell me
course,
this.
yeah, and of course she then replies back in like fluent Japanese, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't speak this properly. Sorry, what did you say?" At which point she just like sort of went quiet for a second, then went, "It's a roof tile." I was like, "Oh, right, okay."
I'm not even joking. If that happened to me, I would just say, honto ne, yeah. I would just completely no-sell the
just
whole thing and
bullshit
just
the whole
politely
thing.
walk away.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that surely would be the correct play for what happened.
Yeah,
It's really one of the
there's
most
no way that
embarrassing situations.
I would not be able to deal with that.
Honestly, like I walked away. I was like, why? What is wrong with you, you fucking idiot?
I mean,
But I think
that's
one of the
better.
evidence that like exposure therapy language-wise like works. Like you stop thinking, you kind of just like use what you know. Yeah.
This is true.
I would at least argue that is a better outcome than the other like weeb foreigner thing, which would just be to be like, "Nani?" and just hope that they then somehow reiterate it in a way that you understand. That's definitely the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Next
Next question.
Yeah, we got the last one, or well, we technically have two, but one of them is just more of a comment that says, "I see how it is, Mark, JK, love y'all, and I am 19. That was the person. So they claim that they are of voting age.
Hey, there you go. Okay, that doesn't matter. 19 is a kid. 19 is a kid, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That is true. That is
There's nothing
true.
wrong with being 19. I wish I was 19,
We're so old. Ugh.
but
Yeah. Mark especially is old. AJ and I are basically spring chickens by comparison. We know what skivity is.
AJ
Yeah.
isn't that much younger than me.
We're talking about in spirit, not in birth certificate.
Okay, so in ways that don't matter is what you're saying. Gotcha.
In ways that matter the most.
Really? Really? Okay.
Yeah. Dude, there are some people I know that are like technically like 80 years old, but have like the hearts and souls of like a 40-year-old. They're younger than some 40-year-olds I know.
And they will die about 40 years sooner.
Well, maybe. You never know. Some people die early. Maybe that'll be you, Mark.
We can only
Did you
hope.
consider that? And the final super chat is from NJL, who says, "Does a fusion still make narrative sense?"
No.
No.
I think we can
that's the
toss it
scary part.
aside. No,
That's the scary part of it.
Fusion's out the window. We theory crafted over a tiny little drawing on a sign for probably way too long.
Shut up. There is nothing. Okay, stop trying to minimize it. It's not our fault. It made a promise and it said, fuck you. That's what happened. Okay? I'm not having this revisionist fucking history. What happened was the show made a promise and it said, hey, you were excited about this? Fuck you. Fuck you. How'd you like that? Did you ever see Josh Peck's Twitter? Or not his Twitter, his TikTok. It's that. He'll start eating. He'll start dunking a fucking Oreo into like some like tea or something, and he'll eat the dry bit. That's what fucking Daima did. Okay, you can like it ironically, but it's trying to piss you off.
I just really like Mark
What a
in the middle of a
swerve.
point going, "You ever see Josh Peck's Twitter?"
His TikTok is what I meant, but yeah.
Oh,
well,
good
either way, it's
Lord.
funny. Where do you go from there? That's it. That's the end of the super chats, and I don't know how you
Jesus.
top a comment like that.
Perfect.
No.
Perfect. It's been a
What an ending.
it's been an emotional ride. The penultimate episode of Dragon Ball Daima almost said super. Jesus Christ.
Our next podcast will be the last one for this particular series.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Wrapping up the series, reviewing the episode itself, and then thinking about the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll have to start thinking about a Daima review video, a full shebang.
Yeah, I've got plans.
Should we, given it's going to be longer, should we just preemptively plan on maybe starting the podcast an hour earlier next week, so that when it goes long, Mark isn't like, it's not like midnight his time?
That would be so nice, and thank you so much for bringing that up on the last fucking episode. I could have used that. I could have used that energy months ago. But yes, let's do that, please. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll try and be awake and fed.
Be away.
Oh my God! It will be
just for complete transparency.
7
what
7
AJ
p.m.
7 p.m. 7 p.m. AJ is saying, I will try to be awake.
Yeah.
But what if I'm tired?
If there's ever been a more obvious cry for help, it's that.
Trev is screaming in my DMs right now, going, "No, kill me! I get back from work at 6 p.m. You give me an hour, I'm gonna die."
He's fine. He'll be around for the group draw. That's what matters.
We'll
the most anyways.
discuss. We'll discuss possibilities. If you
Okay.
hear nothing, you will assume that it is going ahead at normal time. If I announce it, it is going ahead at 7. We will have the conversation later. But until then, that was episode 19, the penultimate episode of Dragon Ball Daima. I had a great time. You guys had a great time. And I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Why did Mark not give us this energy for the past 18
Wait.
episodes?
Hold on. I'm
I've
sorry,
made his
but
excitement for this to be over.
really fast. I don't know why they didn't show up in the super chats, but Oracle submitted in 2 different $99 super chats.
Oh.
I don't know why they didn't show up. But I'm going to read
the
them out
hell?
now really fast. I know we just basically ended this thing, but I'm not missing the Oracle super chats. So
No,
I'm going to read them real fast. Oracle, I'm sorry. Genuinely, I don't know why, but YouTube Studio has not shown your super chats in the feed of super chats, only at the top. So
Very sad.
I'm going to read those now. One says, I'd rather watch paint dry than ever watch Super again. Daima has the comedic and design elements I came to Dragon Ball for.
As a base
Outstanding.
take,
Could not agree more.
100%.
And
He paid me
their
money, so I agree with him.
second super chat was nothing. They just submitted a second one. So thank you so much, Oracle. Sorry
Thank
we
you
missed
very
it
much.
until very end. I don't know why YouTube hates you, but I saw it at
We
the last
don't
second,
hate
so
you.
we're
Just
good.
know that we don't hate you.
Yeah.
And really, that should be the tone of the entire show. We don't hate
Yeah.
Daima. We don't hate Oracle. We love them.
True.
But sometimes
All right.
things get in the way.
Mark, do you want to attempt to loudly cue us out again? Now, this time for real?
Loudly. Okay, guys, that was episode 19. We've had a great time this week. Next week is the last episode. We can't wait to see you there. Goodbye, everybody. It's been a blast. How's that?
Thank
Was
you.
that high enough energy for
Yeah,
you?
yeah, but you got to remember to remind them to smash the subscribe button, the like button, the bell, all that. Come on, do the thing. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
That's antiquated, and I'm not begging for anything. I love all of you. Now go away.
Goodbye,
Be sure to rate the
gang.
video, subscribe if you're new, and we will see you next time.
And smash that bell.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for watching.